There we go. Thanks, Rachel. And thanks, everyone, for taking time out of your lunch session to join us. We are thrilled to once again have Scott Allen, who over the course of the past month has become digital presenter extraordinaire for the Leadership Center, as he and his wife, Jessica, have so incredibly generously offered some workshops to benefit all of us. This one is, of course, of particular interest because it is a skill that we are all going to need to master in some way. Before I turn it over to Scott, let me just give you a quick preview of what lies ahead next week on our What's for Lunch series. Monday and Tuesday, we're going to do something a little bit different. Our good friends at the Cleveland International Film Festival literally had the screen pulled out from underneath them days before their film festival was supposed to go live, and that has had huge financial implications. They innovatively pivoted and are offering streaming virtually. A movie that we are going to be sponsoring is Represent, which tells the story about 3 female candidates in their quest for office. And we're fortunate to have Patrick Shepard of the film festival, as well as the film's creator, with us on Monday for a discussion about the film festival, creating a film, what it means, and you're welcome to encourage to watch the film before that. On Tuesday, we're going to have Patrick with us again with Holly Fowler-Martins of the Fowler Foundation and Matriarchs, talking again about the impact of the pandemic, yes, on CIFF, but also on the arts in general. On Wednesday, we're going to hear from Sandra Miller of the Rape Crisis Center and Melissa Graves of Domestic Violence. How are they leading? What's it meant for the people that they serve? What do they see happening? And then on Thursday, we'll hear from Biz Fedoras and Brian Broadbent of BVU about the role that boards need to play to support their organizations at this time. So in addition to being digital presenter extraordinaire and homeschooler,
not yet, Marianne.
extraordinaire.
I'm trying.
All right,
I'm trying.
Scott, that's enough. We know you. Take it away.
So excited to be with you all today. And it's a very dangerous endeavor to be doing a presentation about presentation skills, especially in this new environment. And so I'm excited because I think we can have some fun and I think we can explore a little bit. I'm also very, very excited to hear your observations and thoughts. So like Rachel said, please feel free to put things in chat so that we can get into a little bit of a dialogue as well. So this has become our life in so many ways. It's our life literally right now. And it's our happy hours and it's our morning meetings and it's our lunch times. And some innovative people have kind of popped up in this space. If you look in the column second to the left and you go to the bottom, you can actually invite a llama to your Zoom meeting. It's about $100. There's a company out of the Bay Area that has kind of, this is a business model that has emerged, if you can believe that. There's some other things that are kind of interesting that are happening. I'm going to share my screen and share with you a web page. Saw this just this morning, and I'm going to share that with you in just a moment. One interesting thing about Zoom is that you feel a little bit more like a DJ than anything else. So I accidentally that is about herd immunity. Here's what I was going to show you. There is a company right now using AI to go ahead and you can create an avatar. I can show up into the meeting as Albert Einstein, and it looks like Albert Einstein is actually speaking, which is kind of a fascinating business model as well. Or I could be Barack Obama, or I could be any number of other people around the world. So that's something else that I just saw this morning that's kind of popping up in this space. So this is our new reality. And in this new reality, all of us can learn, develop, and grow. I mean, that's just a fact. And so I think when it comes to this topic, I've spent a lot of years. I teach in the College of Business at John Carroll University. I do a lot of our presentation skills training, especially courses on executive communication. And I do work in the community on that topic, whether it's working with physicians before they have large interviews or large presentations, or any number of other organizations, helping them prepare for that work. Now, it's a new medium. This is, I was just saying before the session started, for me, it feels a little bit more like I'm a disc jockey than I am theater, and when you can see people really struggling with this. You can see even our favorite comedians, Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel or Trevor Noah from The Daily Show, absent that live audience, it shifts things. So this is a new medium for all of us. The fun question and the fun puzzle for me is, can I get good at it? And that's what I've been exploring, and that's what I've been experimenting with. I think a couple things just completely stand true. Have you thought through your audience? And do you have real clear objectives that you're trying to shoot for when it comes to the presentation? A lot of those norms hold true. It's just that we're limited in some different ways. So today, tips, tricks, hacks. That was in the description of this session. We're going to talk a little bit about technology. We're going to talk about setting and staging. That's kind of the new first impression. We're going to talk a little bit about slide design, a little on structure and design, and then we're going to, of course, talk about delivery. And so those are the areas that we're going to explore. We aren't going to go really deep into any one of them, but it's going to be an opportunity for us to kind of dip our toes, and it's a little bit of a 101, so to speak. Of course, after this session is done, you're going to have my information. You'll have access to this deck as well. So if you have any questions, you'd like to explore something a little more in depth, I'd love to have the conversation. Like I said, all of us are exploring. So technology. What is the technology that we need to be successful? So I have purchased a microphone. You couldn't see it, but it's here. And I have purchased a microphone. I think we also need headsets, maybe even AirPods. Oftentimes when I'm speaking with people, especially as they're using AirPods that have cords, it gets caught up in their clothing and it starts kind of making noises. So how are we ensuring that our sound is as clean and crisp and clear as possible? Laptop lighting. This is kind of an interesting development that I came across, where if you can't see them right now, but I actually have two elements lighting me. This is not the lighting of our guest bedroom, which is actually where I am. And I'm not going to let you see that side of the room, only this side of the room. That side of the room looks different. There's a bed shoved into a corner and an old dresser. I have two lights like I'm on a stage right now. And that's kind of my existence at this point. Now, I wouldn't have told you that if that wasn't what this session was all about. But lighting is important. And you can even look at some of the guests on that we have in the Zoom call right now. How well are they lit and how well are you lit as the presenter? So it's a consideration. And again, some companies have been popping up, which are kind of interesting, where we can start to light ourselves in different ways. But it's an important consideration to have on our radars. Now, along with that, we can look at our camera angle and distance from computer. I literally was in a presentation yesterday. We'll move this. And the person was kind of like this, speaking to the audience. And it was really almost jarring in some ways to have someone like this for the whole presentation. I've also had experiences where it was kind of this, where I was looking, they were literally, their head was cut off and they're going like this. And then sometimes they're even in the corner. Oh, now you can see some of my dirty laundry there. We've got a chair with stuff on it. But we've got all kinds of things and different angles that people are presenting themselves at. I would suggest, and there's articles online about this, you're going to have access to a New York Times article. I would suggest you're kind of straight on, you're well lit, and you're level with the actual camera. Bandwidth and internet speed, I don't know about all of you, but with 3 people in my house and an iPad right now and someone trying to stream some gaming, we have run into some bandwidth issues. So another important conversation to have, especially if you're going to be doing presentations that have great meaning associated with it. Literally 7 minutes ago, I swept the house and said, is everyone off all of our media? And they are. Because we've run into some situations where I might have been recording a podcast or I might have been doing a presentation, had class, and literally things started kind of going south on our end. And then, of course, testing the technology. I've probably given 6 or 7 presentations, had 10 or 12 classes on Zoom at this point, but really practicing with this new medium is incredibly important. So again, dipping our toes in the water when it comes to technology, what are some things that each one of us need? Now, our new first impression. You've learned a lot about people if you think about these Zoom meetings. I could go back to that first slide and we could start kind of making up some stories about individuals based on that first impression of what we see. And so in my mind, this is almost the new first impression. How are you showing up? Now, I'm going to go back to lighting because I think that's critically important. Are you in a place that has nice, well lit, maybe it's natural light, or are you navigating and kind of manufacturing so that you are well lit? And I think also our backgrounds are very, very important. Literally, for the first week I taught class, because I didn't really know where to go, it was kind of disorienting. I kind of sat up in our bedroom with my laptop on my lap, and in the background of me was this window and some shades and nothing. And I immediately said to my wife, look, I need to create a little bit of a studio. I need to do something. And of course, we didn't have that built. So the things you see behind you, $100 each at Target, a bunch of other stuff that we've just kind of grabbed and put onto some shelves. And it's a heck of a lot better than you looking at my extra bedroom right now and a white wall. So I think being intentional and really, really clear about how you want to show up, especially as you're giving a presentation, for me, very, very important. And on the PDF that you're going to receive of this deck, there's a New York Times article that does a really nice job of helping you think through how to set your environment up. Again, this might not be an important element to you. You may not care what impression you're giving off, or you might just say, I'm going to put up that screen, you know, the image behind me of me on a beach with palm trees waving in the wind. The challenge with those is that, like a green screen, a lot of people kind of start coming in and out, and it gets a little bit disorienting. And so I would just encourage you to think about that background. Now, all of us have heard other people's dogs and other people's kids, and we've had kids come on our laps. I've had all of that happen to this point. But what are we doing to minimize some of those distractions and some of that noise? And again, I've had to really get used to prepping the whole house, whether that's running across the ceiling in front of me, above me right now, because that starts to kind of create a lot of noise. I've learned a lot as we've kind of explored this new medium. And then, of course, a place that has some warmth to it. And by that, I mean carpet, blankets. How is the sound of this space? Are you in an echoey chamber as you speak, or does it sound a little bit more warm? And so for me, that's our new first impression. Of course, what I'm wearing is critical and important, and how I look. But in many ways, what people see first is my house. And it gives off an image. And I think it's just important to be critical and be thinking about that. From a slide design standpoint, I think this is absolutely critical. So for me, always in the design, and I'm going to use that word quite a bit. Are you designing your space? In our design of our slides, if possible and when possible, are we using minimal text? I have encountered a few different presentations right now, and I'm going to talk a little bit about eye contact in a bit, but I've had a few presentations now where a person gets on the Zoom call and literally just starts reading their script, and now I am completely shut off from all of you. I'm saying things like, we're really, really excited to have you at this event today. It's going to be a wonderful experience and I might look up and then I look back down. And so as much as possible, can you minimize the amount of text? I wouldn't be delivering speeches from a large amount of text if possible. And are your slides engaging, and are they truly kind of capturing and reinforcing the image and also the message that you're trying to portray? And so one rule that has always stuck with me, and this is the 3-second rule. It's not the crumbs on the ground. That's not that 3-second rule. This is a different 3-second rule. There's a woman named Nancy Duarte, and she says, if an audience can't check in with your deck, with your slide, within 3 to 5 seconds, it's too much. Because what happens then is I am now competing with that slide. All of your attention goes to reading. I start talking, and very few people can read and listen to words at the same time. So if we can minimize the amount of text and create beautiful, engaging slides that really capture people's attention, that are image rich, that's incredibly valuable. Now there's 2 leaders in this space, a gentleman named Gar Reynolds and a woman named Nancy Duarte. Both are cutting edge leading thinkers when it comes to designing beautiful slide decks that are going to capture the sentiment of what you're trying to communicate. Now, I understand sometimes you're going to need slides that have a lot of text on them. I get it. That might be a norm in your organization. What I would suggest is that not every slide has to have text, 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 text. And in reality, if I were to now unload on you a bunch of slides, and I have permission to use this, I do a lot of work with folks at the clinic. What happens when I put up a slide that looks like this is I have to read it. If I'm live with you, that means my head goes down into a computer or it goes back to a screen. Online, my eyes, they go down and I start reading this to you. And especially on Zoom, if you want to keep my attention, you're not reading long periods of text for me. So whenever I'm working with a group of individuals preparing a presentation, this slide right here, it's a part of about an hour-long deck that's about 89 slides. No one can deliver that well. It's going to be too difficult. It's Herculean. I would love to meet someone who does that well. Now, this slide right here, my suggestion always is how can we kill as much text as possible? So for instance, that first bullet, our story. That second bullet, strategies. And then I can deliver that bullet in a better way. I can say, today I'm going to share with you our story of what we've been exploring at the Cleveland Clinic. And I'm also going to share with you some strategies of what we have done to implement and sustain some of the initiatives that we've put forth around patient care. And I can navigate that slide all of a sudden in a very, very different way, almost as if I navigated this slide. So slide design, critical, important as we consider presenting online. Structure. The structure of our presentation is probably what I spend the most time on. The most time goes to structure. So whenever I'm designing a slide deck, I imagine all of you on the line right now at dinner tonight. And what I want to happen at dinner is two things. When your spouse or your partner or your dog says, hey, how was your day? How was that presentation you went to at noon? Was it worth it? That you would look at them and say, yeah, it was good. It was good. I don't want you to say, sucked. No, it was a waste of time. I wish I could have gotten that hour back. That's not my objective. So I'm always thinking about this dinner conversation and how can I facilitate a positive dinner conversation. I also think about what would I want that person to remember? What do I want them to remember or take away? Could they tell their dinner partner something about what it is we discussed? All of us have sat through presentations, literally sometimes for 2 hours. 6 hours later, we can't even tell our partner what was said. We can't remember a thing. There was so much noise, so much text. It was so dense, so thick, we can't even remember. So structure. Now, the 7-minute rule. This is another design feature that goes through everything, whether it's working with 18-year-old men and women at John Carroll University, physicians, attorneys, engineers, CLC experiences like Leadership Cleveland or Bridge Builders. This rule is constantly at the forefront of my thinking. And I've actually broken it today a little bit. Some research suggests that human beings check out every 7 minutes. So we need to be doing something to kind of jar those human beings out of the doldrum, especially on Zoom. I mean, if you think about what's happening right now, if this is, I haven't looked at any of the participants, but if you think about what's happening right now, you have people who don't have their video on. Some of them are engaged. Some of them are multitasking. Am I good enough to get them off of their multitasking, to actually kind of turn over and like engage? It's hard because I can't tell. There's a lot of black. And by that, I just mean the person's name in a black screen because they aren't showing themselves. But I'm always kind of playing that game. How do I keep people engaged, interested, and involved in what it is we're doing? I love presenting to physicians best and attorneys. They're difficult groups. But if I can keep a room of 80 men or women, physicians, and only have 5 of them on a device, I know I'm winning. And that's always in the design as I think through how to do this work. So we're going to take a quick tour. And when we think about design in this medium, I want you to be aware of a couple things. So there's a lot of options that we have at our disposal when it comes to keeping people engaged and involved in an online environment. Now, Rachel, you can see me, correct? And I'm big in the screen now, right? Okay, so from a design standpoint, am I switching things up about every 7 minutes? So I've just done that. I've switched things up. You're going to see me do it a lot towards the end of this presentation. Now, the 7-minute rule also does another thing, which I absolutely love. We're 22 minutes in. We're halfway done. What it does is it creates an illusion for the listener that time is moving by quickly. If I sit on this line with you on this Zoom call and I talk at you for 40 straight minutes, I better be good to keep your attention. One way to keep your attention is to add in some different elements and learning tools and tricks to help A, change the experience up, but B, make the experience go by more quickly. So we have some options. We have a polling feature that we're going to be using a little bit later. I'm going to be doing a poll with each of you. We have some reactions. If you go down to reactions in your toolbar, you could go ahead and give a clap or a thumbs up. If you think this is going okay for right now, just give me a thumbs up or give me a clap. That would be wonderful. See, thank you, Michael Bennett. I appreciate it, sir. I did not get one from Andrew. He's not liking this at all. Oh, he gave me a wave. Okay, I got a wave. So there's those kinds of features. I can also go into chat, which is kind of interesting. And you know what? It's an opportunity for me to give you an opportunity to kind of write some feedback in here. And I'll go ahead and use that in a little bit. There's also this feature that says participants. Now, yesterday, I did a poll I had the CHRO from KeyBank, Brian Fischel, in my class. And we did a poll. I'm going to give you the poll right now. If you would, go into participants. And if you think after this experience you would love to work from home, click yes. If you think working from home would not be for you, go ahead and click no. I really want you to do this right now. Click yes or no. Okay, so the feedback we have is that 18 of you would enjoy working from home. 9 of you wouldn't want that to be your future. What was interesting about our poll that we did yesterday was that it was 18, it was undergraduate juniors, and 23 of them preferred to work at the place of business. Only 2 wanted to work from home. I thought it would maybe be a little bit different than that. But that's a quick example, 17 to 10 right here, of another way that I could include you or get your feedback in the context of the presentation. So I'm going to go back to my deck. Another element of all of this, we have that 7-minute rule. I could also put you into breakout rooms right now. There's some options. I've created a Google Doc where people could be in a breakout room and add to the Google Doc that everyone can work on at once. And then we come back and we have some data that we can explore and we can debrief and we can reflect upon. In this environment, I'm also more likely, I'm not going to do it today, June Ryan, but I'm also more likely to call on people and just say, June, what do you think? And then maybe June jars out of, and other people think, wow, I might get called on. So if you're in a meeting, calling on someone or using their name can be very, very helpful to kind of bring people back in. So there's also the classic structural design element of tell them what you are going to tell them what you told them, a very simple design structure, and you're going to see me using that today. And that is another design element that I always build into everything I'm presenting. And then also, of course, clean thinking. If you can remove the noise and the extra elements that are just going to detract from what your core message is. So at dinner tonight, my goals, your session at noon, how was it, honey? It was good. It was good. Number 2, what was it about? And you can name some things. You can name some things. Number 3, I want you to feel better prepared to succeed when delivering in this new medium. So we're going to use the polling feature in just a moment. When I encounter clients that I'm working with and students that I'm working with when it comes to presentation skills, I'm always keeping this metaphor in mind. And this metaphor for me is a Wi-Fi signal. And if you are that kind of center circle, that's you, kind of what you're putting out is connecting at a certain strength. And my wife and I were in France about 2 years ago. We were on a train from Paris to Brussels. And we were so excited because Wi-Fi was on the train. And we thought, well, for this hour, we can get as much work done as possible. This is going to be great. So we get on the train. And of course, we have 1 bar of signal strength, kept getting cut off, couldn't get our work done. And it actually ended up being a really, really frustrating experience. And the same thing kind of happens in presentation skills. When I come across an individual who is working with kind of 1 band of signal strength, that individual oftentimes is so consumed with their nerves or just getting through the content or not letting people see the red splotch come up their neck. They're so consumed with that they just kind of get through it, not seeing me shake, all of that type of stuff. Now, when we come across someone who's working at that second band, they're connecting. They aren't necessarily nervous, and they might even be mechanically pretty darn good. But their soul, sense of humor, personality, it just doesn't shine through. It doesn't connect like when you're in the presence of someone who's really, really great at delivering a message. And so all of us, for every one of us in this room, we are a work in progress. And for every one of us, we are constantly trying to get to that place where our sense of humor, our soul, our personality shines through with our message. So here's my poll question for each of you right now. In a general sense, and Rachel, can we pull up that poll? Is that a possibility? Do you think when you're presenting, you have that 1 band? Are you kind of consumed and nervous and anxious and you're just trying to get through it? Do you feel like you're working more like 2 bands of signal strength? Or do you feel like you are kind of at that 3 band? Your personality, your sense of humor, it all shines through and you can be you as you're delivering your message. So if you would, go ahead and just complete that poll. I think we have about 18 people that have shared their thoughts. And this is great. This is wonderful. Now, what's interesting for me, as I'm learning about presenting in this new medium, is that almost like those comedians I was mentioning, I tend to play off the audience, and I tend to play off the audience as a strength because then I can add in humor, I can inject humor. So in this space where I don't have some of those other options, it's been a challenge for me. I would almost in some ways put myself back at the second bar. Sometimes I can get to that 3rd bar in person, and I'm kind of teetering between the 2. But right now, similar to if you've heard Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel or Trevor Noah, they've talked. Sometimes they share it and discuss it on their shows, that it's a different medium. And again, I feel a little bit more like a disc jockey because I can't see all of you. I'm just talking into a screen. So signal strength. When we think about delivery, that's our ultimate objective. Can we connect? Can we connect at a really nice level so that people stay engaged and want to be with you? So there's some slide design features that add to our presentation. There's some setting features that add to our presentation. There's some structural design features that add to our presentation. And then there's mechanics. Today, I had to set a certain tone when you got into the room. So as I'm thinking about how I set a tone, well, in a live session, I have something scrolling and I have music playing. It's a very, very different tone than if you come into a quiet Zoom and everyone's kind of wide-eyed and says hello and then isn't saying anything, and it's just uncomfortable. So I totally bypassed that whole feeling. So setting the tone also was done when I tried to share a little bit of a joke where you could bring in a llama. So it brings you in, and I'm trying to set a certain tone for that presentation. If the reality is this, for me at least, the energy I'm putting out is the energy that I'm getting back. It's the energy that I'm getting back from each one of you. So I also work to have a conversational, accessible, and warm tone. I don't try and be perfect, all buttoned up, really, really tight, have it go exactly as planned. That's not me. I did that for years. I tried to achieve that, and it actually squelched my personality, my sense of humor, and it was stressful to try and be perfect. So I no longer am worried and concerned about that. I want to be conversational. I want to be accessible. I want to have a warmth about me. That's my goal and my objective. Now, that might switch depending on the audience, but generally speaking, I'm going for that. You've heard me over the course of the last however long we've gone, 12:32, you've heard me use some words: fascinating, wonderful, incredible. You've heard me use words in a very, very intentional way. Because in this medium, I can't be walking around. I can't look at you in the eyes and smile. There's a lot of limitations that are placed on me right now. But one thing I can do is I can be intentional about the words I'm using. Because if I'm using words that communicate emotion, enthusiasm, excitement, and they're authentic, they have to be authentic, and I am excited to do this presentation, then you know what? Those words matter. They matter greatly. And so our word choice from a delivery standpoint, especially when we're online, I'm trying to set the emotional tone with the audience. That's a piece of that formula. Now, we also have to work through space fillers. You've sat on Zoom calls where the presenter was looking to the side. So today we've got some things that we need to get through, and yeah. So let's go ahead and let's jump in. I don't know about you, but I'm in pain at that point, and I know this is going to be an incredibly long hour, and I want to do everything I can. I literally at that point want to go black and just start working. That's how I'm pulled. I mean, and so space fillers and filler phrases, these are important. These are important to be aware of. Now, there's a video that we have in the chat. We have a link in the chat to a video I would love for you to watch right now. Now, this video, you are going to click the link and watch it on your computer. It's about a 2 or 3 minute link or video, and just watch it. And then Rachel, when it's done, would you go ahead and give me a thumbs up? Okay. So you should have a link that will share with you where I would like you to go online. And it's a YouTube clip. And after you're done watching it, June or Rachel, would you just give me a thumbs up, please? This is a good one. This is varsity level filler phrasing. He's on the varsity team. Varsity. Varsity level use of space fillers, or actually in that case, it's a filler phrase and everything like that, right? Pretty amazing. Had no clue he was doing it. And we all tend to have phrases. I tend to say so or right. I also see you overuse the word fascinating sometimes. We all have these things that we aren't aware of. The way we fix those is to help people help us better understand when we're doing so and getting authentic feedback from others. But in this medium, avoiding space fillers and filler phrases, incredibly important, because again, we don't want noise clouding our message. We're close on time. So we got 1 or 2 more slides of content, and then I have a little bit of an activity, which is going to be kind of interesting. In this medium, sometimes I do presentations over the phone. It's a conference call. Well, in that situation, boy, are we limited in our ability to use a number of these different bells and whistles. My voice better be awesome. My voice better be on par. So from a vocal variety standpoint, that becomes paramount. Now, vocal variety is your pitch, your pace, tone, pauses, volume, and is that shifting? So we know what it feels like when you're in presence of someone who speaks slow and they're monotone by default. And that's just their default behavior. Now, throughout this presentation, what I've been practicing are my pauses, accentuating and bolding words with my voice, increasing, slowing down, pausing, getting louder, getting softer, because those are all core elements. It's called vocal variety. And those are all core elements of great delivery. Sometimes people say to me, well, I can't practice that. Well, many of you on the line have children and you read to your children. That's a perfect opportunity to practice vocal variety. And also when you're leading a meeting, that's another opportunity to practice vocal variety. Hand gestures, another tool. In this situation, it's a little bit different because they're high. So I'm not used to this. I also tend to do this, which gets really big for all of you and kind of weird and awkward. It's like Ricky Bobby for any of you who have seen Talladega Nights. What do I do with these? In this case, I have to keep them a little bit closer to my body so that they aren't coming at you in 3D, which is kind of awkward and weird. And I've had to get used to that. But hand gestures are another tool. And then, of course, we've talked a little bit about eye contact. My eyes want to go to me on the screen. My eyes have to, and I've been working to train my eyes to look straight at you through that little circle in my laptop. And that's the objective. And I'm also not used to looking at the same thing over and over because that gets awkward. That's a long looker. And in normal day-to-day interactions, you don't want to be a long looker. But in this instance, I kind of have to be a little bit of a long looker. So eye contact. Again, if I'm slow, monotone, looking to the side, using space fillers and reading, it's not a great presentation. Set up for failure. Bottom line, people be checked out quickly. And then finally, facial expressions and congruence. If I'm excited, I better give you some nonverbals that would suggest that's the case. Otherwise, you get into this whole thing where you see people sometimes say, thank you, Marianne. It's great to be here. I'm just very, very excited about the opportunity to be with you today and share some of the really great, incredible work that we've been doing. So it's just awkward when I use really big, awesome words, but don't have any facial expression that is congruent with what I'm saying. So that's the objective. That's the objective. Facial expressions, if you're happy, if you're excited, smile. Let your eyes get bigger. Smile with your eyes, which is a term used in the media. Let them know that you want to be there. And your verbals and nonverbals have to align. Okay, so what we've done is this. We've talked about some technology, setting and staging. We've talked about slide design. We've talked about structure and design. And we've talked about delivery. I'm going to share with you one more video before we close out for the day. And this is literally a random Zoom call that I found online this morning, 13 minutes before our presentation. And it's a great example because I want you to be able to see what are some opportunities. I don't mean to be picking on this young man at all. That's not my purpose here. If you were his coach, what are some opportunities that he has? If you were to coach him on this video he was making, what are some considerations he could make? What I would love for you to do is this. I want you to watch the video, but I want you to also put your feedback in chat. If you were his coach, thinking about technology, setting, staging, slide design, structure design, and delivery, what are some considerations that he could have taken into consideration? So if you would, go to that link. It's in chat. Watch that video and take notes. What would you share as an opportunity for him? Are we good, Rachel? Awesome. if you would, put some notes in the chat. What would you suggest to him as his coach? You could also put in suggestions for me and coach me. We about done? The video about over? June, will you give me a thumbs up when we're about there? You guys got great stuff. We need to go into business. We need to start the world's first Zoom presentation skills consulting firm and make some money on this. We good? Okay. Okay, let's go through what all of you said. Now, Nicole, you had a question about the affordable microphone. I'm just going to address that really quickly. Go to Buzzsprout and YouTube, and they have wonderful videos about technology that you can purchase to start a podcast, but they have a section on microphones. And so you can also email me. You'll have my information at the end of this, and I can give you my information or what I've purchased. Lots of looking to the side for a script. Yes, you can tell it's completely scripted. Hollow sound, camera placement. Yes. More exciting background. Incredibly bland. Not a great, it's just not showing up wonderful. The video angle. Yes. Lighting. Sure. Eye contact is not to the audience. Camera angle. Again, it's up on screen, but mine is not playing. Work on the setting. Perfect. Strategically placing his script in a different place. Even if it was kind of here in front, we'd get a little bit less of some of that. His pacing, he's speaking fast. He's speaking too fast. It's a default behavior for him right now that his pace is quick. He's not aware of it, but that's what's happening. Doesn't matter if you speak quickly, you just have to measure it. It's not a default mode where I'm too slow for minutes at a time or too fast for minutes at a time. Same facial expression, seems to be trying to smile but he's not genuine. He's probably not all that excited. Avoiding reading, moving arms a bit. Yes. Hand talker, you are too. The image drags legs with hands, so it's weird. Change background to be less distracting, using some visuals, adding in a few hand gestures. Looks like a prison. Awesome. And of course, yes, noticeably reading. Now, again, we don't want to make fun of him. That's an incredibly difficult medium to get very, very good at. But there's opportunities, and that's what I want you all to start seeing. That's what I'm trying to start see. And so an experiment I've been running was that I authored 3 LinkedIn articles because I very quickly had to learn about Zoom in our instance. And this is a hot link in the PDF that you will receive. You also have my information there if you would like to connect on LinkedIn, and then you can message me and I can send you a link. But I've authored 3 articles about how to shine online, and at least what I'm thinking about, what I'm learning. And I think we're close on time. It's 12:40, we're over time. So summer's white. 90% of how well the talk will go is determined before the speaker steps to the platform. I believe that. This design took a long time for this deck, for this presentation, but by the time I stepped in, it was done, it was ready to go. So I leave you with that thought. Here's my information if you'd like to be in touch. I hope each of you have a wonderful day. We didn't have time for Q&A. Pop me an email. I'd love to have a conversation. Marianne, I'm turning it over to you. Did that go okay?
Scott, that was awesome. And you probably haven't had a chance to, I think there's a comment from Rachel McGill that sums up everything. Guest llamas, Ricky Bobby references, and great content. Your presentations are always an engaging and valuable use of time. And it's going to be this positive subject of her dinner conversation tonight and ours, you can be sure. So, and I'll give, by way of explanation, my screen was blank because my viewing partner was eating lunch. So not because I was multitasking, just trying
That's
to
an
be
important
polite.
thing, though. That's an important. There's a new reality of impression management, right? Because it's important to be aware of that for sure. Yeah,
Right.
love it.
But this has been absolutely fabulous. I thank you so much for the time you invested in doing this. It was very, very valuable, and just scanning through the faces, I could tell that many felt the same way. So thank you for everything, for your generous donation of time and talent. And I know your wife Jessica is on here too. Jess, thank you. And I see son Will, who has not yet made an appearance in our Zoom call, so welcome, Will. Thanks very much, everyone. And we will see you on Monday for Cleveland International Film Festival. And I forgot to say, we also have some two-minute videos on our website of leader inspirations. And the most recent one features June Ryan. So I hope you will go and check it out. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.